Now, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. This is the weekly chart Bitcoin. Remember, I was just keeping making videos over the last week or two saying that I think we're at some pretty critical support for Bitcoin. One is the Ichimoku cloud. It looks like it was just kind of waiting to touch the Ichimoku cloud before it was able to bounce back up. The other thing is, too, like you have a lot of these different moving averages that serve as pretty decent support and resistance levels in the past. For example, the 50-week EMA. And also, if you're also looking at the 50 week SMA as well, which is the blue line over here, that has also served as some pretty important resistance and support zone in the previous cycle as well as during the bear market. So you actually a lot of these different kind of confluences basically saying that, hey, I think that we're in a pretty decent spot to bounce if we're going to bounce. A couple other things too, if you're in the whole trend line thing, I think we've finally really broken above this trend line down here, which is always a little bit more promising if you're looking at the wave trend oscillator here too. You can also see that we also have a pretty nice bounce. Like, none of this guarantee is going to like shoot up from here, but you have some pretty nice confirmation from various sources to tell us that, hey, I think that Bitcoin is actually a pretty good area where it could end up bouncing up a lot, right? The big resistance that we're having right now is really the bull market support band, and it has finally flattened. So, which is why I think price is able to kind of push through that here a little bit. I mean, again, there's only Thursday, so the week is not done yet. It could very well get rejected, and it could very well be just a wick, and we might still need another couple of weeks to kind of go from there. And all of this could just be on the back of some short-term euphoric sentiment. All it takes is just a little bit of a price to drop, and then people will be all freaking out. And all it takes is, who knows, maybe it wanted to kind of backtest the line over here after its breakout, right? Going back to around like 60,000, or maybe even a little bit lower to like 59, 58, to kind of push a little bit of a backtest before going up further. I can see that entirely possible as an entirely possibility. Do I care about that? No, I don't. And also just looking at the fractal of how this move over here has been very similar to this move over here. It just looks kind of uncanny. You have about 8 weeks where it's kind of underneath the Bowman support band. Over here, you have about 10 weeks that's underneath the Bowman support band. And it looks like we're just, whenever it drops underneath of that, it just needs to kind of wait for time to kind of flatten out the Bowman support band before it re-challenges it and break through. And whenever it breaks through, you have a pretty big move that comes afterwards, right? Right now we have, again, Boas support bands turn a little bit flat here, so I think we have a pretty decent chance to maybe break above that, but don't rule out any potential back tests down, because that's how the market works. It doesn't always have to go in a straight line. This is Bitcoin. I would not rule against the possibility of just going up in a straight line, but it doesn't always have to, right? So I would, at this point, this is a reason why sometimes I prefer catching a little bit more of a falling knife rather than having to chase a move like this, because it's actually, to me, very uncomfortable to chase a move like this. Let's talk a little bit about the miners. By a little bit, I mean like a lot. I really want to focus on the major miners. I'm not going to share too many, specific thoughts. I just want to kind of go through like a bigger picture in terms of what I'm expecting to see. When it comes to miners, the first one I always like to talk about the most is going to be CleanSpark. On the weekly chart, there's a lot of technical damage that has been done. I'm going to zoom out here, though, on the monthly in terms of what I'm expecting to do. I really want to see, and like short-term volatility doesn't really bother me. I like the hammer bottom-y kind of look to it right now. I would really like to see the month of September to close the candle above a rising 20-month moving average. And because it's such a rising 20-month moving average, I think that it's going to serve as pretty decent support. I think the month's going to end up closing above. Currently, it's around 9.23. As long as it closes above 9.23, I favor a more bullish continuation, although it might take a little bit longer for you to really have, some pretty decent move. But who knows? Like, sometimes that's the thing about these Bitcoin miners. Sometimes you have a downtrend like this that goes on for like 3 months straight. All it takes just one bullish engulfing candle, it can reverse everything, right? So far, we're having a little bit of declining volume on the way down. So sometimes you just have like maybe a very bullish month of October, November, and it can just engulf like 2 or 3 of these bearish candles. So I am not going to rule that out against CleanSpark here. I do want to show you, like, this is really happening really across all the miners, where you're seeing that They're basically back testing the 20-month moving average. This is Mara. It's doing the same thing. It's also happening on a downtrend on declining volume. You're also talking about a lot of the other miners like Bitfarms. Bitfarms also doing the same thing. Back tested a rising 20 is going up, and all this downtrend here is on decreasing volume. Cypher is a little bit of an exception here. Cypher is currently underneath a rising 20, but just because it's been rising up so much. But even the downtrend candle here is on declining volume, right? IREN is one of the better ones. It hasn't even really touched the 20-month yet. And Wolf also hasn't really touched the 20-month yet. It looks like you just want to ride the upper Bollinger Band up together with, over time. There are a couple of other miners that are showing very similar morphology, like BTBT is basically doing the same thing. But not all of them do that, right? HUT is also reclaiming the 20-month moving average, but you have a lot of the other miners that are really lagging behind, Riot being one of them. It's just way underneath the rising 20. It does have a very nice hammer candle here, and the downtrend has been on declining volume. So I do think that most likely Riot is going to do pretty well considering moving forward. But it's also, just kind of been one of the underperformers, and I'm just showing you that, as to why that is. You have a lot of the other small miners like DigiHose, it's underneath the 20. You have Hive, currently is underneath the 20. You have BitDeer, currently is underneath the 20. So you have a lot of these other miners that are not, they're maybe smaller caps and just not as popular. Annie on Sphere 3D is underneath 20. Michi, Mousen is underneath 20. So, but the overall, if you look at WGMI, which is the miners ETF, you can see that overall is trying to do this. If you average out all the miners by market cap and by weighing on the ETF here, you can see that there's really a increasing trend of 20. It looks like overall they really want to just kind of go up higher over time. The other trend that I'm really seeing is really this. So I'm going to take off the Bollinger Band here for a monthly. I'm also going to take off the volume. One thing it's really trying to do is trying to really challenge the fit level here. So this is done on log. All it's really doing is backtesting the 0.5, right? Here for CleanSpark. And for Mara, what is Mara doing? If you're looking at Mara, it's doing the same thing. All it was doing is challenging the 0.5, and so far it looks like it might end up holding. Again, I would like Mara to close above 16.11 for the month of September, to close about the 0.5, because it just seems like that's the theme right now, right? Bitfarms, what is it doing? Let's look at the Fibonacci here, right? From the peak over here to the bottom over here is backtested 0.5, right? What is Cypher doing? Cypher is doing a very similar thing here. Looking at the Fibonacci, you can see it's also got close to 0.5, but not quite, right? So from that perspective, Cypher actually doesn't look bad at all. IREN, what is it doing? Going from the top here, going to the bottom, it's actually trying to reclaim the 0.618. This is how bullish it is. On Wolf, going from up top, going down to the bottom here, is trying to reclaim the 0.5. So in a sense, Wolf is actually underneath a little bit of resistance here. It shows, right? Whereas the other ones actually look pretty decent. You're also talking about underneath the Bollinger Band resistance here. So don't be surprised if Wolf does like some crazy 10-20% move down, on one day, who knows, but it really does look like it just wants to keep going up. It really looks like it wants to push through this, 0.5 here, but just be careful, right? What about BTBT? What are you looking at here? I'm just basically just kind of show you what these miners are doing in terms of Fibonacci level. A lot of them are challenging 0.5. And looking at BTBT is a little bit of a laggard. It's not quite at 0.5, right? And to just kind of give you an idea, like how much of a laggard Riot is, if you just do a Fibonacci from there to here, you can see it's just actually come down and back test the 0.236, right? So this is how much of a laggard it is, but it's holding pretty well. But just, I don't know if I would really want to power money into Riot just because it's showing a lot of relative weakness. Do I think Riot's going to do okay this cycle? Probably. How high do I think it would go? I don't know. It might be a late cycle boomer. I think that's entirely possible. And I can entirely see that money ends up being rotated back into Riot maybe towards the end of the cycle. That's entirely possible, right? But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea in terms of what I'm seeing here. Overall, though, I do think that a lot of these things are basically saying that miners are very, very strong support. If you don't believe in any of these things that I'm saying, well, I mean, if you don't believe in anything I'm saying, you shouldn't be listening to this video at all. But another way to kind of look at it, even if you look at Gann Square, let's say if I just do it from like the cycle high, not inverse, no. If I do it from the cycle, not the cycle low, but March of 2020 low over here. If I just do a quick, Gann, usually you want to do the duration multiple of 40, 45, so 90 would be a good area to do that. And I generally like that to be either 1 or 0.5. Let's do 0.5 and kind of see what we're seeing. Right off the bat, you see a lot of market symmetry. Actually, I want to expand this out a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and do 180. And let's go ahead and change that to 1. What are you seeing here for CleanSpark on a monthly? Got rejected at the horizontal, got rejected here at the arc, was not able to hold the arc, came back down where it came back down to the horizontal level over here. Look at how nice the market symmetry has been. Arc, 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 angle, arc, angle, and then you basically get rejected at the confluence zone over here. It's finding pretty decent support over here for CleanSpark, right? So there's just a lot of these different kind of evidence to show you that I think miners have really truly bottom. You also see like these like very nice trees are bottom here on the monthly, right? You see a nice hammer bottom over here, right? So there are a lot of things that are really kind of going for it. Even look at Mara. If I look at it from the cycle bottom, I'm not going to do this for every single one. I'm just going to do it for Mara, and I'm going to do maybe a little bit to like 180. And then I'm just going to change that factor to like 1, right? You can see that, again, it's showing really, really nice market symmetry. Pushing the arc over, you got rejected, came back down, got support of the arc here. Battling this arc, found support, could not really bounce up, but came back down. Where did it test? It tested horizontal, it also tested the angle. It held. This is a very, very nice confluent zone of support over here, and it's holding, right? So a lot of these miners are really showing a lot of market symmetry. They're really showing that they really have gotten close to their bottom, and they're bouncing up, and they're bouncing up in a big way. Now, how far is this thing going to go? We'll talk about it when we get there. I just want to see the month of September to really end up closing above a lot of these, important things like the rising 20 month moving average and like the 0.5 Fibonacci level. I really like to see it do that. And if it does that, which I think it will, because if you just look at IWM, if you look at the global liquidity, you look at rates, you look at everything else, you look at just the fact that even like stocks like Zoom and Lucid are actually turning more positive, I have a hard time being really that bearish on miners. Now, you can make the argument that they keep diluting and the high is not going to be going up that high, but I can also make the argument that they're diluting for a reason. They're trying to be the top of the game in Bitcoin mining. And Bitcoin mining will become very valuable whenever Bitcoin becomes very valuable and whenever you have the hype really going behind Bitcoin, which currently there really isn't any. So anyway, I just want to share you my thoughts on some of the quick things and how I like to see things close by September. I can talk about like higher targets and things like that, but I've already talked about it in previous videos, so I'm going to just leave it as that. And these are things I'm watching out for moving forward. Anyway, keep you an update later. Bye.